Hi, hello, welcome in. This is phase 3 of the one prompt 5 stories challenge, which means we are about to knock it down to 2 stories, or rather, 2 outlines. The idea is that I will choose the 2 stories, or rather the 2 outlines, that have the strongest outline and storyline, as well as seem to be lending themselves best to a short story and not something longer. I have no thoughts on this yet. The decision really is being made right here, right now, and I don't really want to choose. I don't want to knock one out, which is a great sign that I have 3 very interesting, exciting stories. So I am going to try really hard to focus in on kind of like the mechanics, the um, less about the excitement of the story and more about whether or not I think it's a good publishable story and one that I can finish in a short story. So let's look at them. If you have missed the prior 2 phases, you should probably go check them out, but obviously you'll get kind of a gist of the stories looking at the outlines briefly. So we have 3 outlines to choose from. We have the uh, 2 women hear a fight happening inside when they show up for some sort of potluck dinner. We decided this is the 1 year anniversary of the hosting couple that is the one fighting. As kind of like a twist, the wife is possessed by a spirit or entity that is protecting her from violence. So kind of there's this like back and forth between the husband and the 2 friends who hear the fight when they first show up. Um, he's trying to say like this isn't my wife, there's something wrong, and they're obviously assuming that he is abusing their friend. Um, but by the end, we've watched the entity kind of like become aggravated and kind of show itself a little bit, and so the friends start to believe the husband. But it turns out like the husband has been abusing the wife, and so uh, the entity eventually lashes out, kills the husband, and then like turns on the 2 friends and is like, like you've betrayed me, like why shouldn't I kill you, kind of thing. And then it stops there, and we let the reader decide what happens next. So this is the timeline. I'll give you a second to look at it. I do feel like there are a lot of scenes, but I think a lot of these can be like very short. The next one is uh, a person finds a witchy mentor online. Uh, it's actually a scam, and the mentor is a cannibal. Uh, the fact that I can kind of tell the story in a single line leads me to believe that this is probably a good one to choose. Uh, basically, person meets mentor, mentor uh, uses cult tactics to control them, and uh, while we don't see it all happen, they kind of like go through like a set of rituals that is supposed to be gaining this person's or growing this person's power, and the final thing is a human sacrifice. And so that person goes on to Bubble BFF, finds somebody who likes hiking, invites them out for a hike, and ultimately leads them to the witch mentor slash cannibal's house. But along the way, this like new friend has been seeing some signs that this is not right, eventually realizing that there's like something like metaphysical about it, or perhaps metaphysical about it, because they start to realize that none of the symbols they're seeing actually make sense. And they are somebody who's like well versed in witchcraft. So by the time they get to the house, they've decided like I'm going to talk my way out of this, and they get in there, they talk their way out, and kind of like offer to like help the cannibal sacrifice this other person, and the cannibal just starts eating, and they just run. possibly have a nod at the end that like the cannibal does actually like gain some sort of like fantastical power. Not really sure if that's the way that we're going to go yet. That's going to be a discovery through the writing. And then the final one, ooh, there's a whole page there. The final one is two cops um, outside a building waiting for backup. They hear something inside, and one of the cops is like, I'm going in whether you follow me or not, and they head off. And so obviously their partner follows them in, not wanting to leave them alone in the danger. Uh, we find out that backup cannot be coming because as they've been searching the house, this giant storm kind of just like whips up out of nowhere and knocks out the bridge to the island that they're on. Uh, but I mean, there's not much they can do now. Um, Kind of at the same time that we're finding out that the bridge has been knocked out, they have found a bunch of women in the basement being held captive. And then the traffickers, they get home or come inside or whatever. Some of them are coming down the stairs. The women had actually decided that they were going to mount an escape this day anyhow. It just works out that way. Happy coincidence. And so the cops kind of just like join forces to, uh, subdue and or kill, and they all make their way out. And throughout the writing, I'm like planning on making an emphasis on like the pathos of the weather, which I think will just be like a really fun thing to do. I think telling you about these uh, has helped me decide. And I think we're gonna go with 4 and 5. And I think that this is a really interesting thing. Um, because when we first started knocking out stories, we knocked out number 1 and number 3, and those are kind of like the earlier sprints. And by the time that we have gotten to here, we're ending up at the later sprints, so it's kind of the ideas that came out after some of the other ideas came out, if that makes any sense. So I think this is maybe showing that this is like maybe a really good exercise in finding uh, like gems of stories instead of just running for the first or running with the first thing that you think of. With all of that being said, this phase is all about writing. So there's not going to be a lot of talking. It is going to be very much a writing vlog. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk at all, but I'm going to attempt some like fun footage. I plan on going to a cafe at least once as part of the writing. If the weather allows, maybe I'll go right in the park a little bit. Right now, you cannot tell. I did try to get a video to kind of show the color of outside, but it is that like sallow, like yellowish green storm color. The radar looks like it's not coming for us, but like a little bit of a wind change, and it is. So that is most of the reason that we're inside. I think that's the end of the talking. I think I'm gonna start writing, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Obviously, like if I have thoughts that just kind of like come out my mouth, I will stop the speed up for that. So I think it's time for me to just bite the bullet and get going. So we are moving on with the cannibal and with the no backup. And I guess I'll start with Hannibal. His drink, raspberry, but oh, you can't see that it's raspberry. Raspberry bubbly. Since I won't be showing you the whole piece through the writing phase because I don't want it to be published without being published, for the purposes of sending it off to literary magazines, I thought it would be fun to show you some quotes throughout. Here is the first quote for today's writing session. Dress pants, blouse, and blazer like she is going to a regular job interview. Of course, she should have worn robes and talismans. It's Catermission. Here is the second quote for today. She pauses and sips her tea. Data shifts in her seat. Ideas of what an ugly path might look like float through her mind. It seems like my timer is going off, as in my battery is about to die, so we're gonna leave it there for now. Obviously, there's some things we can fix up. Um, I think it's going well so far. Yeah, and I don't have anything else to say. So, I'll see you for my next writing session, I guess. Writing session number 2 is about to be underway, but first I must fuel myself with my morning coffee. Alexa, set a timer for 3.5 minutes. And yes, I defaulted to vertical because I was using my phone. It's a rookie mistake, and it won't be the last time. Obviously. Hi, hello, welcome into the second writing session, I suppose. I realized that I didn't choose a scene or a word count to write to for this phase. So right now I'm putting it out there that we're gonna write to 1,500 words, or we're going to pick a scene, whichever one we get to first, is where we'll stop. So for this one, we're looking at Sprint 4 timeline. So we'll probably go to here. And leave these two. And then when we start Sprint 5, we'll decide on where we go to for that one. So we don't have much further to go. Technically, we have the title as part of that word count. So it's -6 words. So we can go to 1,506, and that's when we have to stop. So I'm going to have to try to keep an eye on that while I write today, because I'm sure we're going to hit it. Oh my god. There's no day that I get where there isn't, like, construction or something. So, oh, this is the garbage truck, actually, I think. I think it's time to just get writing. So, like a more normal human for a little bit, probably. Good idea. I'll have to read a little bit, figure out where the heck I am here. Okay. Today's first quote is, Hildy bites into the limp heart, then offers it to Dana, who follows in her bite marks. It just got much yellower, just super suddenly. I don't know if, I don't think you can tell. I thought the storm was done. Today's second quote is, Hildy hasn't wiped the blood from her mouth. It oozes down her jowls, filling the wrinkled creases of her chin and neck. Okay, I went over my word count just a little bit, um, but I finished kind of like that scene. So I'm okay with the extra 31 words or whatever it is. Um, do I want to move on to the next one, or am I just done for the day? Does it make sense to move on to the next one? I did leave myself 4 days with the assumption that it would take 2 writing sessions to finish each story. Well, that will be me signing off for today, and tomorrow and the next day. Oh yeah, I can feel it. Um, tomorrow and the next day, we will write the other one to 1,500 words or whatever scene. Well, I mean, I can look at it now. Why not? Why not? This is probably a good spot. 7 or 8, I'll be happy with, I think. Um, I do fear that this one's too long. How many? Yeah, that one is 6, and I'm like right on. This is 2 POVs. I don't know. This might end up being too long for like the challenge, because I suggest that we shouldn't go past 2,000 words, for submission purposes. So I want to like fall in line with that. I don't know. I don't know. That might just be like the thing that chooses our story for us. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Today's writing session takes us not to a cafe, but to a restaurant instead. And I can't believe I didn't get a video or at least a picture of my drink, but I did choose a glass of sangria. Today's first quote is, "The large windows of the living room no longer streaming in bright sunlight, but the sallow yellow of a storm. Dark clouds on the horizon are blowing in quickly." And today we are not alone. This is my partner Ben, and he is working on a piece of writing all his own. I tried to ask him for a last name to use because name generation is so difficult for me. His suggestion was not very helpful. I'm upset that I didn't have my mic going. I wouldn't have been able to play it because of the music in the background anyways, but at least I could have remembered the silly thing that he said. Today's second quote is, "Before she turns back around, the door is jerked, pulling her into the room. Women surround her, grabbing and punching and kicking." Hi, I'm just popping in here in between what is technically phase 3 and phase 4, or the writing to about 2/3 and then choosing a final one and writing to the end. Uh, while you don't get to see this happening, both stories went very different ways. Let me see if I can get the cat really quick. Shh. It's a candy! If anybody has noticed, the mess that's over there is all because that little cat has uh, a penchant for jumping down and just taking all the blinds out. um, both stories in this kind of like right 2/3 of the story, they've gone very differently. One of them was like pretty easy to write, very straightforward, kind of got like all the words down. I did take 2 sessions to write it, but that was more like time constraint than like difficulty writing, I think. And then the other one was a struggle because as I was writing it, I was kind of realizing some flaws in the timeline. And so as I was writing it, and then I'd check back, or like I would start writing it, and then I would check back on the timeline, and the timeline would be not what I wrote, really. So there's some kinks to work out there, and I think that's going to help determine which story moves forward for the challenge, but also I think it tells me that I want to keep writing the story that's not going to make it. Now, to show you the editing process, perhaps it would be more interesting to take the story that doesn't really look like its outline, but I also think that for publishing purposes, I have a stronger grasp on the story that was kind of straightforward to write, and there will still be loads of editing that needs to be done, obviously, so we're not going to miss out on a phase by any means. But also, I think that means that it's ready, and this is what I was actually trying to say, is like, I've put myself on a time crunch. So I think I'd rather leave myself some time to work out the kinks in the one that was difficult to write or wasn't really lining up with the original outline, and take like the next couple of weeks that I have in the schedule for this challenge to kind of just fine-tune the other story. Through this entire thing, I have not told you which one is which, and that's what I'm going to do now. So the story that ended up being very straightforward, pretty easy to write, is the... Oh my gosh, my face, it's so dark. Is the witch's house, or the cannibal story. And I'm kind of happy about that. And we also end in a really interesting spot. So I had decided that either we were going to write 1,500 words or write to a particular scene. And so we ended up writing to the scene, like right before we get into like all of the lists that we made. So it's like right before they go on their hike kind of thing. And it also ended up being very close to 1,500 words, which also I think says something about just like it coming together really nicely for, can I get in the sun? Is it better in the sun? I keep seeing myself like completely, shadowed. I think that that's saying something that it's like perfect for this challenge. It just like so happened to be. Yeah, otherwise I don't think I have a whole lot to say about the writing experience. It's writing. It's kind of like the least exciting part, and I don't think that there were too many times where I was like, dang, that was a really good line, though you will have seen some of my favorite quotes from each writing session, through the vloggy process. But that means that tomorrow we will be jumping into the final phase. We will be finishing a story, and then we'll be taking the teeniest, tiniest little break and jumping into editing after that. But the rest of this video will be finishing the story, my final thoughts on how we did from outline, or from sprint to outline to finished first drafts, and probably go over some of the things that like I'm already aware need to be fixed going forward, because that's often already a thing. I think there are already notes in the sidelines of things that I know that I'll have to fix. I know there are far more notes in the sidelines for the in without backup, but yeah, I think that's what it's gonna be. So, yep, that's it. Pardon my shadowed face, I guess. And I'll see you tomorrow to finish the story. Hi, hello, welcome in. This is the beginning of Phase 4, which is really just a continuation of Phase 3, just with a single story instead of both of them, and we're going to be working to the end of it. Still no editing is being done. It is raining outside, and so it is possible that I will have to pick up and run inside, but I also think that the ambiance might be very nice. Sorry, there's a squirrel, and I got distracted. Hi, cutie! He looks like he might be diseased. Uh-oh! Yeah, I think that's it. I think I just start writing, and see what happens.
Today's writing session ended up being a little chattier than usual, so enjoy the thoughts bubbling in my mind as I finish this piece. Today's first quote is, "They shouldn't be here." As if to answer her thoughts, off to the right, Martha notices something strange hanging from a tree.
We are getting a little close to that word count. Obviously, I'm going to finish the story and then edit back, but I'm fearing. Whoa. That was a big lightning. I hope the sound of that picked up, because otherwise I look crazy. I jumped out of my skin. What was I saying? Oh, that I fear that there's stuff that I want to add into this. And so what the heck am I going to take away? I might not hit the word count. It's really hard. This was like the longest word count that we ever had in like my creative writing classes. And so you can imagine anything shorter than this we also had, and it was very difficult to write in that time constraint. But I say that, and I'm currently judging the writing battle contest, and this season is 100-word stories, and some of them are definitely doing very well. And it's shocking to me what people can do with such a small word count. So in theory, I should be able to write a 2,000-word story. But not every story is a 2,000-word story is really the problem. I just realized this is probably like in my face. How bad was that? Was that really annoying? That was probably super annoying. Well, I'm not gonna remember what I said. Alright, I have to pause for a moment because my groceries are here. We might change where I am because of that, because I don't want to leave this stuff out here. So, I may or may not be here, and even if I am, the framing may be slightly different. Okay, hi, we're back. Obviously I opted to stay inside. I think it's coming down straight. I think it's gonna stay that way, but who knows. Okay. Hi, Candy. You can come over. In fact, yeah, come on up. I encourage it. Hi. What? Come here. Gonna find a spot? Gonna watch outside? It might thunder again. Yeah, it might thunder again. You're distracting me with your cuteness. Oh, buddy, it's fine. Oh, Candy. It didn't matter. I was gonna go back and have a huge change in my story, no matter which story I chose. But I think that that note, the POV switch, that's a big one. Yes, I like that a lot. I think, and actually, I am just going to start writing that way. Oh, my battery is going to die. I did think I was going to finish this today. We have one scene left. Guess I could plug in.
It's Catermission.
You're very cute. You little noodler. You don't like being on camera, do you, Leaky? Oh, oh.
Today's second quote, and the final one for this video, is, "The old lady's forehead doubles its wrinkles."
Okay, so there's very clearly a huge edit coming because I'm going to switch up the POV. I think it will be very interesting to start the story in Hildegard's POV, And so maybe see the whole thing from the. Oh, maybe we don't have a Hildegard POV. No, I think we can do it. Well, we'll try it, and if it doesn't work, then maybe we'll switch things back. But I think a Hildegard POV up until the end of the first meeting, and then switch to Dana for the 6 months later and the finding a friend, and then switch to Martha for the whole hike. I think that's what we're gonna do. This does bring us to the end of phase 4. We have a finished story. We are very clearly over our word count at 2,884. We were aiming for 2,000, but I feel like it's more important to finish the story and then kind of change things, cut some stuff out, see what we can do with that. And maybe like write a version of however many words we need and keep that version, and then cut what we need to have a 2,000 word version, so that maybe we can send both out. But this is future plans, obviously. As far as my experience writing the last little bit of this, I think the only thing really to note is that I had that idea for changing the POV, and then also I kind of have two different spots that we could stop the story at, which is kind of interesting. People often flub the ending, either by trying to throw in a twist that doesn't make sense, by taking it too far, by not quite going far enough. Like, there are lots of ways to not do a satisfying ending, and so that'll be something that I think I'll spend a lot of time on, maybe get some feedback on. I know that's not part of the challenge, it is supposed to be just self-editing, but I think if part of your editing process is sharing it with a writing group or a critique partner or something, I think that's totally fine. It doesn't say anything in my challenge that says you can't have somebody else edit. In fact, if you want someone to edit your short story, I know somebody who would be very interested in it. After you've done some self-editing is best, but that's, again, besides the point. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think writing is kind of like the most boring part for other people. The interesting parts are the kind of idea generation, and then like all of the like edits, the things that make the story into what it is. The initial first draft never really feels exciting to me. It is just getting the ideas down. The editing is where it kind of comes to life. Maybe other people feel differently. And it's not that it's boring for me, I just think it's probably boring for you. Yeah, I think the other thing to note is that, like, this draft isn't really finished. There are quite a few TKs in there, but I'm going to figure those out as part of editing. Some of them require a little bit of research, some of them just require, like, a little bit more thought. Some of them require a thesaurus, but I'm going to deal with those in editing. Yeah, that's it. So, if you are doing the challenge along with me, or if you're doing this challenge in the future, let me know how your writing went. How phase 3 and 4, you know, actually sitting down and writing your first draft, let me know how it went. Did you have any major changes that happened during your writing process like I did, or were you able to just follow your outline to a T? How is your word count looking? Are you looking like you are in the right range going into editing, or are you a little worried about being able to cut out enough stuff? Or maybe you underwrote and you're a little worried about making it longer, although I wouldn't say that that's a big problem. Yeah, let me know how your whole writing thing has gone. And I will see you for editing, which will be very fun. Oh my gosh. Oh, what I should actually say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I had a blast. Catch you next time. Bye!